Hello, I'm Teresa Stanley, here on Broadway at Rock of Ages. Welcome to this tribute to Nate Jacobs. I am able to live my dream because of all he's done, and now he is living his.
Loving you is wrong, I don't wanna be right. One reviewer called me the Heidi Highness of Hody Hoda. We have a little give and take. Whoa. Baby, I didn't understand you. Take your sorry behind out that door. Stop that scratching in the dirt. Stop that hatching, lift your skirt. Once you learn these simple facts, you will never get the axe.
Nathaniel Jacobs is one of 11 children. He has a sister and 9 brothers.
I was born in Tampa, Florida, to Ennis Leon Jacobs and Veta Mae Jacobs. Those are my parents. Very loving people. My father was the kindest man you ever wanted to meet. Everybody loved him. To meet him was to love him. He has now passed away, and so has my mother. Miss Veta Mae Jacobs, she was a little bit more spunkier and had a little flair about her. She didn't play with anybody who messed with her children. She was like a bear about her cubs. My mother had been the only child, so she just really cherished the fact of having kids. So she had quite a bit. We were taught, love your brother, manners, respect your elders, pretty much a religious upbringing. My father was a traveling gospel singer with some of his brothers and some of his cousins. They were called the Jacobs Brothers of Tampa, Florida. And they were quite popular, a gospel quartet group. So many nights in my home, they would have their rehearsals, and I grew up listening to this gospel quartet music, which I thought back in the day I hated. I don't know why I did. I just felt like, wow, that's some weird music.
When he was growing up in Daytona Beach, nobody really knew he had talent.
I remember most people who would visit our house would say, "Are you one of these Jacob boys? But do you talk?" And I was just extremely shy. In high school, the only thing I was a part of was the art club. So I was a quiet little artist. I never got involved.
But you can tell he was really creative. I would watch him sometimes, and he would just make up things as he was either cooking dinner, because Mom made him do the cooking and all of those things until she got home from work. So many of us were outside playing, but Nate was actually inside having to provide for us. And so we were, of course, very grateful to have him to be the type of person that he was, where he didn't complain. I don't think I ever heard him complain about it. He did it every day we came home from school, but he was a great brother.
One of his older brothers was attending Florida A&M and convinced Nate and Nate's mother to let Nate enroll.
I was an art major, and that's what I went to school for. I ended up meeting a mentor, my mentor, Dr. Henry L. Porter, who was a former instructor at this university. He would come to Tallahassee 2 or 3 times throughout the year and do gospel concerts on campus. I ended up being selected to sing a song at an appreciation event for him. And after the event, he walked up to me and he said, "You really have a wonderful voice." He said, "You have a pretty voice." He said, I really would like to work with you."
That has to be one of the most beautiful voices in the whole world. He's excellent, excellent. And when he started singing, I was just taken by his voice. I still am.
I thought, oh my God, if this man, who I totally respect because he's so phenomenal in these concerts, think I got something, maybe I do.
Let's welcome to the stage, Nathaniel Jacobs. Nate Jacobs.
Saying this world is such a cold, cold place. You say you would reach out to help make a change, but the world will always be the same.
Dr. Porter and his wife Cynthia asked Nate to come to Sarasota to teach art at their Westcoast school.
He was my art instructor, and he was also our drama teacher in middle school and high school. So that's really where the journey began with Nate. He would write all of these plays. At the age of 13, I was in Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella, playing the prince.
Working with him from a kid, he would push us, and he didn't care if we were tired, he would just push us. And the drive that he instilled in us as kids is his drive now.
It wasn't long before Nate was asked to be in productions at the Players Theatre, FST, and the Oslo.
First met Nate in 1996. I had arrived back at the Oslo in 1995, and I was doing a play that required an African-American actor, and somebody said, we have an actor in town named Nate Jacobs. And so I auditioned him and I hired him.
The first time Nate and I worked together was at the Paradise Cafe in one of the cabaret shows over there. I cannot for the life of me remember which one it was, but I remember saying, boy, that guy's got a great voice. And then I know he did Aunt Rudell here, but he did several other things. Just Nate and I don't know, we clicked early on. I like Nate.
He gave her his most killing look.
He always stood out when he performed because he just has this natural energy and charisma that, you know, is one of those things you can maybe help people achieve it, but you can't really teach somebody how to do that. You can work on their skills, but that's something he just had.
Whenever Nate called and needed something, he wanted a place to put Aunt Rudell, and I gave him a place to put Aunt Rudell, and I would cast him whenever I had a role for him.
So if we went into an environment that culturally was different than where we grew up, my parents taught us adapt, you know, fit in, you go serve, do whatever you need to do to be free or become what you need to be a part of that community.
And I began to talk to the artistic directors about, well, where are the African Americans? Where are the people of color? And I was told from theater to theater, oh, Nate, they don't come to theater here. They don't support that. So I thought, well, maybe if you did a play. I had done these several shows at the Players, and by this time, I probably had gotten 30 or 40 African Americans out of the woodwork who was interested in doing theater.
I said, Nate, you're supposed to have a black theater troupe. He said, theater doesn't work in Sarasota. I said, it may not have worked for anybody else, it'll work for you. I said, you have it. Now don't be afraid and go.
Howard Millman was now artistic director at the Oslo, and he invited me back. He said, I want you here as part of my acting company. We think you're very talented, but I want you to remind us that the Oslo truly needs to do something to diversify. I was sitting backstage one night, I remember it vividly. In the green room at the Oslo, it was the last show, and I said, it's you. It's you, Nate. It really is you. Dr. Porter was right. Your instinct was right. You are going to have to start a black theater. And I told Howard that at the end of the night. I said, I'm going to start a theater that truly celebrate people who look like me. So when I really sat down after these conversations, I thought to myself, now, how would I start a black theater organization in Sarasota? I mean, how could I possibly, breathe something like that into reality? Well, I got an invitation from the Players Theater. They had an interim guy who was there as their executive director. His name was Michael Judson. And he had come from another state, believed in diversity, heard about my reputation when he got to the city of Sarasota, and invited me into these plays. He said, this is very risky. I've gone in and fought for you at the board. They told me if this does not work and is not successful, don't ever come back and ask this again. But they're willing to give it a try because the Players is the community theater and the community should be represented at the theater. I came in and I directed several black shows. The Amen Corner by James Baldwin, Dreamgirls, Bubbling Brown Sugar, A Raisin in the Sun.
You know how young people are these days. You can't do a thing with them. Goodbye. That's the way you feel. There's nothing left to say.
I was told, you are making history. Never have we done an all-black play on the Players stage from a black cast from the Sarasota community.
I sure hope you folks know what you're doing.
And so my reputation began to grow even more because I had brought some diversity to the cultural landscape.
Move a minute here. Let's get the hell out of here.
I got a call from what used to be Theater Works, from their board president. His name was Joe LaRusso, Sophia LaRusso's husband. And he said, can we meet with you? And I got to the meeting. He said, a lady who we asked for a donation says, you want to start a black theater. We don't know if this will work in Sarasota, but we're willing to give you an opportunity. I put a show together called Cotton Club Cabaret. We opened to a full house. Sunday night, the next night, Monday night, filled up. The next weekend, Sunday, Monday, packed out. The next weekend, packed out. The next weekend, packed out. So they came to me and said, we think we want to extend this. They extended it another 3 weekends. Every weekend was sold out. It was kind of real mysterious to the players because they told me, we have never had 2 black actors come to any audition or matter of fact, anything we've done. Where are you getting these people from? I remember Jay Handelman, the critic, called me one day. He said, where are you getting this talent from? It's hard for Broadway to find talented African-American dancers and singers. How are you able to find them? Well, I had, I don't know, this innate, this radar that would, get these people excited and get them to the studio.
One tremendous young talent he discovered was Teresa Stanley.
I was doing the musical Pearlie. I had auditions. I was looking for Ludibelle Gussie Mae Jenkins, which is the lead in Pearlie, the female lead. And I could not find this person. Riding home from a studio session that I was doing with one of my brothers in Tampa, this girl who was at the Westcoast school where I was teaching art and doing this drama program came to mind. She was 13 years old. So when she came to my mind, I said, oh, she's a kid, she's too young. But I got back to Sarasota. I was driving back from the studio from Tampa, and I had 2 girls who was coming to audition for Ludibelle Gussie Mae Jenkins. The 2 girls got up and did their audition. I said, well, neither one of them is Ludibelle. So I got on the phone and I called Teresa Stanley's mom, and I said, I'm at the theater, I'm at the Players, and would you bring your daughter over? I'm doing a play and I think she may be good for it. I had noticed her in the school. She was different. She had this real passion about music and about singing. And it drew me to her because she was always so passionate about it. Her mother had her there in about 20 minutes. Teresa put her on the stage. She broke down in tears. She told her mom, I don't want to do this. I don't know what he wants me to do. He keeps asking me to do this. So I had to take her off the stage. And I told her mom, okay, this is too overwhelming. So I thought, another method. I gave her the CD of the musical. And I gave her the 2 lead songs that Melba Moore sang in the show, I Got Love and Pearlie.
I listened to the songs and I sang them exactly the best way I could. And he was like, you've got to be in this show and play the lead. Oh, when I went in there and auditioned, I was shaking like a leaf.
And I said, sing. The girl opened her mouth and blew my literal mind. She had every note to perfection. So of course she got the lead.
He groomed me in such a way that I was able to go out on stage fearless and give my heart out to people and receive love in a different way than I've ever imagined. So I fell in love with the stage because of him.
The first review of the musical said, Stanley is a star. You can't take your eyes off her.
She was just this bundle of fire that I don't remember exactly how I described her. But I know that Nate knows, but Teresa was somebody who, she just came on stage and just blew everybody away, and she was 14 years old, maybe 15 years old, at a maturity beyond her years.
She was one of my first true proteges, and through her whole high school experience at the school, she clung to me, took every word I said about theater. I could see everything I say, she was applying it. Today, for 6 years now, she has been living and working in New York. Her first Broadway show was The Color Purple. They put her in as a swing, and a month later hired her as a permanent cast member. Presently, she is playing the African-American lead as Justice in The Rock of Ages.
And because of that training, I was able to make my way through a role I knew barely to be able to, light it up on Broadway. And I remember calling him that day just amazed, and I told him, Nate, everything that you have said is golden. I said, because I'm using it now. I'm using it now for my life, my actual life on Broadway.
Nate gave Teresa a start, and he's been doing that. That's what the whole troupe is about. He's been giving an opportunity to people who either might not have discovered theater any other way, and gave them a chance and gave them a place where they could learn. I mean, the shows have been more professional than you would have thought, with a lot of people who had never been on stage before. Some of them maybe had done school things or church choirs, but you know, performing and acting is a whole different kind of thing than doing a church choir. And it's been fascinating to watch a lot of these people grow.
We've all grown up and watched each other grow, and now we're all sprouting off into these wonderful places in life, and that's what he wanted to do. You know, that was his key. I need to help groom people, give them a place to grow and flourish so that they can grow and be the kind of people effective in the world that they want to be.
And one of those people is Nate's daughter, Nayari Jacobs.
And I learned how to get along, but now you're back from outer space. I just walked in to find you here with that sad look upon your face.
Nayari has her own journey, and she's quite focused, much more focused than I was at her age. Matter of fact, she's been that way since she was 3 years old.
He still made sure that he spent time with me and was a really great father, but time, you know, that thing of knowing your parent is coming home at such and such a time and having dinner, I never had that, you know. But this became my family also, because technically I'm an only child, but I feel like I have a lot of siblings. I call Teresa my sister, we're very close, but I never felt like an only child.
I am just so proud of her and how she is paving her way in this industry and in this world.
I was constantly surrounded by music, so I think over time I kind of realized, oh, okay, this is my life too. This isn't just what he's doing. I love doing this as well.
Next, the company would need a name. The obvious choice would be the Nate Jacobs Theater Troupe. But Nate had another idea.
It's Westcoast Black Theater Troupe because of this. Westcoast Center for Human Development, which founded Westcoast School for Human Development, was a support system for me. I felt I was stepping out into this new journey alone. But if I called it Westcoast Black Theater Troupe, that meant that I had a group of people who supported my dream. So if I felt as if I was out here paving the way alone, I carried down that road, down that journey, my West Coast family. Initially, generally, it's the West Coast of Florida. That's the other side of that. But my affectionate reason for calling it West Coast Black Theater Troupe is that I knew I always had somebody who believed in Nate Jacobs. What had happened to debut was me and 5 other founding members. Zadok Porter, the daughter of Cynthia and Henry Porter. Teresa Stanley.
I'm through playing with fire.
Henry Porter, the son of the couple who founded the school. Afia Campbell, who was another student from the school, and Janana Wilson. These are 2 other people I had identified that they were extremely talented, more than they realized themselves. Janana actually told me, why are you calling me? I can't really sing like some of those people. But anyway, we 6 stepped out as West Coast Black Theater Troupe. Immediately, I realized something. The dream of diversity on the cultural landscape of Sarasota was just not Nate Jacobs. It was the community's dream. They embraced it so quickly and so wonderfully. Very little funding came through the door, but every time we got up and did a show, it was rave reviews. It was just accolades after accolades. The only way I knew to get the word out that we existed, we took every invitation we got. Once somebody comes to the theater and see us, they invite us out to this fashion show or to this event and that event.
For years, Nate and his WBTT bounced around from place to place, singing and dancing at events in Sarasota. Finding a home briefly at the Arts Center, But it just wasn't financially working out, and he was tired, and he was ready to give up on his dream.
I'm worn out. I'm getting burnt out. And one thing I will not lose is my passion for what I do. To lose my passion is to lose my life. And in order to save myself, this is it. I am going to call the newspapers and I'm going to announce that this is the end of West Coast Black Theater Troupe. I have done diversity on the cultural landscape of Sarasota, and I'm moving to New York, and I'm going to do a whole nother journey. As soon as I said all that, my heart struck me. That's not the thing to do, Nate. And I could not get away. I've always been one to follow my passion and follow my heart. I had been talking on and off with Jerry Springer, the entertainer. A friend of mine had given me the number and said, call him, he's a friend of mine. He should help you. And I had got no result. I had said to myself, I'm closing shop. And Jerry Springer came to my mind. Sitting in my car alone one day, I called his number. Unlike any other time before, he answers the phone. And he says, yes. And I said, this is Nate Jacobs. I'm from Sarasota. He said, I know who you are. You're the gentleman who started the Black Theater Company. And he said, so what do you need from me? And I said, I need a donation if you would do it. And he sent $10,000. And that was the shot in the arm that I need my 10th year. Howard Milner stepped out of the woodwork and said, I have been on your board for a year, and I know I have not been very supportive, but I've been watching you. And Sarasota does not know that you are pulling this down the road alone.
After a lot of conference, we decided that what we needed was an executive director. And that's how Christine Jennings came into the picture. And that was amazing in itself.
And for 6 months, we worked tirelessly in getting things in order. We opened the show in January of 2010. And from then on, it has just been a soaring, soaring success.
And he's got a theater now that is 93% sold out most of the time. 93, 95% sold out most of the time.
Sarasota in the past has had a bad reputation for being just not very welcoming to minorities. I think that is changing. I think it's getting better. But you know, that's the kind of thing that takes many, many years. And I think we're well on the way, and I think having the West Coast Black Theater Troupe here is a big asset in making that happen.
Rolling down, we're rolling on the river.
And they're not playing, as a community theater does, you know, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and goodbye. They're playing 6 days a week, 7 performances, sometimes 8 performances a week, for 5-week runs.
And giving the young African Americans a chance and a place to perform regularly. And that didn't exist before WBTT came into being. I think that's huge and massively underestimated.
Very few African American theaters, black theaters, survive in this world. Very few theaters survive in this world. And he has a huge following. And that's due to his talent and his drive.
I said to Howard Millman, I said, Nate has grown up. And Howard said, yes, he has. Yeah, I'm very proud of him.
Isn't it something how when you get out there and you step in your shoes, that even those who have not known what you can do, though close to you, they learn that there's something bigger in you. And I think that through Nate, we, the whole community, can learn. Let the big thing from within shine without. And other people throughout the community will be blessed.
13 years, me working, I never had a building where I could really settle, grow, a building that could truly facilitate the programs and vision of West Coast Black Theater Troupe. And 2 weeks ago, we got some of the most wonderful news I could have ever imagined. We now own a complex that housed 2 buildings for us to be able to facilitate West Coast Black Theater Troupe and its programs. That's been my dream forever. It is another confirmation to Nate Jacobs that that decision I made back 13 years ago was the right decision. And this vision was always bigger than Nate Jacobs. It was something that was meant to be. I am just the vessel that is coming through. And it humbles me to see the people that I've helped and the inspiration, the excitement, the passion, and the love that Westcoast Black Theater Troupe incites into the people of this community.
This community is so blessed to have a Nate Jacobs. Nate Jacobs is one of the most talented people I personally have ever been around. Nate is a writer, a singer, an actor, a director, a mentor, a comedian, and a teacher, and it goes on and on. And one thing that we want for all of our troupe members, and Nate sets the model for this, we want and ask and require that they be role models. And Nate, of course, is just the father of being a role model.
Him following his vision for having a theater company and things like that, it opens the doors for young artists like myself, all the singers and actors that come across the stage, to have a platform where the theater goers in Sarasota come out to see you, and you're able, they're able to see that you do what you do and you do it well.
Somebody turn around and play that funky music, why, boy? Play that funky music, why? You better tell them, play that funky music, why, boy? Play on the boogie.
We have just begun to scrape the surface on where we can go and what we can be. There is the National Black Theater Festival representative that came down to visit, and he said to me, "You don't realize it, but your company is growing into one of the most significant black theaters in the country very quickly." He said, "I am totally amazed at the kind of support you have, and you may think other theaters in other cities have this kind of support." He said, "But they don't." He said, "It's really growing into something to be reckoned with in a very quick way."
And for me, Nate is a history maker, and he is someone who is a pace setter for the Sarasota community. No one is doing what he's doing in this community and how he's doing it. And no one would have thought in 2001 that Westcoast Black Theater Troupe would be a force to reckon with in the Sarasota community.
God was his strength, and he still made it. And so he succeeded at what I believe he's called to do. So I know if my parents could see their son, they would be extremely proud.
Nate is a solid force in Sarasota, Florida, that brings people together to laugh, love, sing, and be happy together. That is amazing. That's amazing. Who else does that but Nate Jacobs?
Thanks to the assistance of Dr. Porter as my personal mentor, Howard Millman as my professional mentor, Christine Jennings as my business partner's CEO, executive director of the company, we were able to breathe life again and give Westcoast Black Theater Troupe a new day.
Sarasota Magazine said this, and I'm quoting them: "If you go to see the Westcoast Troupe perform, and you're sitting in your seat and you're not dancing, you're dead."
Just gonna know exactly what it is. Move me hip, flip from side to side. Ain't no stopping us now. We got the groove, we got the groove.
So there are endless possibilities, and I'm just ready to just fly through the sky.
Thank you.